Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Recently, a lot has been happening with history, patterns, and being closely correlated and correct. I'll explain all of it. The only things that we really have to go by in the cryptocurrency Bitcoin space is the past. I know that sounds weird, but that's just how it is. A lot of times, if you have ever been in any other market, if you've been in the stock market before, and you look for information about a company, you look for stuff that's happened in the past with them. You tend to see, do they have a dividend? How long was the dividend issued out for? When did they start doing dividends? Is the dividend increased over the course of time? It's all about history. This is why we have those numbers that, regardless of any ups or downs for the stock market, typically every 7 years, there's like some type of a stock market crash. The market goes back up, but you will always make your returns as long as you kind of stay in the market, and it ends up slowly going back up. All we have for Bitcoin is roughly around 15 years worth of information. We have a couple of other halvings, and we have a couple of halvings that have also been relatively similar to each other. They're the 2012, 2016, and 2020 halvings. And the idea basically is people have been looking through the charts to try to figure out if we are going to see the same kind of correlation again. We know that the halving happens every 4 years. Got it. And typically, the year after is when the market usually ends up going insane. So as I've mentioned before a couple of other times, maybe you weren't here, I'll repeat it. The price movements that we've been seeing in 2024 thus far are just a little bit insane. Do you want to know why? Because we normally don't see these numbers until not only after the halving, but well beyond the halving. The part that's really stuck out for me, as I mentioned in a video about maybe a week ago or something like that, a lot of the numbers are starting to look incredibly similar. So we've had the situation before where we have to look at the patterns. When does Bitcoin typically move up? When does this happen? How does this happen to Bitcoin? When does the price go back down? That kind of thing. A lot of the analysts within the space typically give really crazy numbers, and that the numbers are completely askewed from one side to another as far as the price predictions, where they think things will go, how high they think they'll go, that kind of thing. This time, all the numbers are really similar, which kind of, the word's not frightened, and it's more of a, I wonder exactly how accurate a lot of these things are going to be, because everyone's coming up with the exact same numbers. I'm going to go over a couple of quotes, then I'm going to go over a couple of numbers. They're nothing insane, nothing crazy. But I really want you to pay attention to exactly what these numbers are and why we're getting so many really crazy numbers. You should get it nearly instantaneously. There's a company called Coin Ledger. And they've been looking through all the Bitcoin charts, all the past halvings, the movements of the coins. And my favorite part is the timing. Because I think it's one thing for me to sit here and go, this happens on this happens on that, this happens on so-and-so. But to see that we've really gone in a different direction from every other halving, and we're still not at the halving, is the most important part for me. When you talk about the difference in structure of this market compared to the other ones, it's staggering. Historically, the market was ruled by me, you, us. It was mainly retail investors putting their money into the market. So we saw, and I'll put it to you this way without having to read through too much. The companies all say that they can tell when new wallets are activated, when they buy coins and when they sell. This is all public knowledge. It's all on chain. We don't know who did it, but we know that it happened. So this is why a lot of times the significance of wallets who are just accumulating and never have sold, why we see them as I don't care for the term diamond hands, but it's more of these are the people who are accumulating for long term. A lot of the people who get into the market tend to be newbies. They don't know too much about other markets. They get into the cryptocurrency market because it's very easily accessible. But any type of price movement downward scares them and they end up selling off their coins. So we've seen that historically over the last couple of halvings, that every time the price was going up, it's because mathematically the halving happened, it became more scarce, and a lot of people began to buy. Seeing that the price was going up, people began to buy. The price is still going up, I'm still going to buy. At some point, something happens, and the price falls down, and we see that over the course of the last year and a half, nearly all the wallets who were buying before at the beginning of the bull run end up selling off, and that's why we go down so far. Little other side note is that a lot of people think that cycles are over, in that we no longer live in the fantasy world of it just being me, you, us inside of this market. Where we exist now is that we have these mega titans in the space that are worth trillions of dollars. And we've seen, even since the beginning of this year, when there's a dip, the dip is short-lived. If you get a chance, if it interests you, if you want to read about like dips within the cryptocurrency market, or especially during a bull run, we normally have like weeks worth of one dip. If you've been here before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll see prices really, do extremely well. Something triggers it, prices fall down for 3 to 4 weeks. Legitimately 3 to 4 weeks, they stop and then they slowly move back up. We've had about 2 or 3, they're not crashes, but they're like strong price movements down in the last couple of months since the beginning of this year. You realize they lasted for maybe 2, 3, 4 days. Why? Because the next day in the news, we find out that Fidelity, BlackRock, and MicroStrategy were buying. They scoop up anything because, once again, the idea is if Bitcoin's at 60-something thousand right now, and all these companies have price projections for Bitcoin over $1 million, you could buy Bitcoin at 150,000. It goes to $1 million. Guess what? You still made money. It fell down to 59,000. Guess what? You still made money. It doesn't matter. 900K, still buying it up, still made money. And that's just the projections for the course of the next decade. The point is, CoinLedger was looking through the actual numbers from the other halvings. And I need you to really pay attention to the numbers. They said in 2016, the price on the day of the halving, time machine, they said in 2016, the price on the day of the halving was $650. 3 months after, it was $722, a 10.9% increase. In 2020, the price rose from $8,572. 3 months later, it rose to $11,393, 32% increase. The point being is that after the halving, prices always rose. This is only a 3-month period and not any longer than that. If you were here or remember the history of Bitcoin, the price on the day of the halving was $650. 3 months after, the price was $722. You know why that's significant? Because the previous all-time high before that was $1,200. Even after 3 months, we still had not hit the previous all-time high. In 2020, we went from $8,500 to $11,300. Remember what the previous all-time high was in 2017? It was $20,000. After 3 months, we still did not hit it. Why is this significant? Sorry for smacking my hands into the microphone. It's because we, right now, have already passed by Bitcoin's previous all-time high. Yeah, it's weird, right? So normally, we don't see this happen for 9 months. And I was discussing with a friend, he was asking if we were early, if this was like a super fast hypercycle. And I said, no, we've just never known a world where it's not just me and you inside of the market. We've heard that there are other institutions and companies who are floating around, but we've never seen the numbers directly in our face. BlackRock and Fidelity and all these other companies acquired 303,000 Bitcoin in 6 weeks. MicroStrategy has over 200,000 Bitcoin. It took them 2 years. 2 years to do that. It took these ETF issuers 6-7 weeks to do the exact same. That's why when I mentioned before, it is likely we are going to live in a world where by summertime, those ETF companies alone are going to have more than 1 million Bitcoin, not even factoring in the halving and how many Bitcoin are lost and gone forever. And if you missed the other video, we only have 1.3 million Bitcoin left to mine, and it's going to take 115 years. That's not a fake number. We have already passed by the previous all-time high when we normally would have another 9 months of price rises before that actually ends up happening. For those of you not paying attention, it usually takes until the halving when the prices begin to go insane. Those are the 3-month numbers, 10.9% and 32%. They said, and this is the greatest part because they made these numbers based off of old data, which is fantastic. They said if we manage to get to Bitcoin's previous all-time high by the halving, paying attention, we would go to $84,000 per coin after 3 months if we did like the normal math of the movements after 3 months. But what's the problem there? We passed by Bitcoin's all-time high weeks ago. We got up to 73 something or other $1,000 at the time of me making this video. If at the time of the halving we're at 69,000, we go to 84,000. What happens if we've already far past the previous all-time high and we're still not at the halving? They said 6 months following the 2016 halving, Bitcoin's price value climbed to 986, marking a 51% increase from the halving day at 650 on the day of the halving. Similarly, still also 6 months after 2016, we still had not gotten to the previous 1,200. Similarly, in 2020, the cryptocurrency saw its price jump to 15,702 after 6 months, reflecting an 83% surge. 15,702 was still not $20,000 after 6 months. We are in some kind of a really weird mathematical cycle that people aren't ready for. I try my best. It's very difficult. I try my best to not be crazy, not be hyped, not give like too much energy because I understand I don't want people to FOMO, but I really want you to pay attention to the numbers. Remember how we heard, first of all, let me finish off this one and then I'll give you the other stuff. CoinLedger says just based off of, their numbers are crazy. They said just based off of if we managed to get to the previous all-time high by the halving, which we have already gone by, we're going to have a Bitcoin price of $115,000 by summertime. Remember how a couple of weeks ago we had a number of Bitcoin price predictions, but they were all kind of like, I was going through them and I was like, oh, that sounds nice. Oh, people have crazy numbers. They were around 100,000. And I think the craziest that we've seen was 200K by the end of this year. A $200,000 Bitcoin this year means that we're going to have a $500,000 to $600,000 Bitcoin in 2025. That's literally what the numbers mean. Because once we get to the year after, the literal year after the halving, it just did that weird stop thing again. The year after the halving, prices tend to go completely ballistic, parabolic, whatever word you want to throw inside there. They go insane. 2017, Bitcoin went, the beginning of 2017, Bitcoin was still not at its previous all-time high. And it went from $800 to $20,000. It's always the year after where prices go completely insane. We're very early, and it's because of the level of accumulation that we're seeing. And I really need everyone to constantly pay attention to all these numbers because it's going to set the market ablaze. It's going to cause everyone to go completely insane. We are not that far off from the psychological $100,000 level. Bitcoin has become an asset that is almost exclusively for the rich. And that's where we currently are right now. There's a reason why. You might remember it as well. It was a little cringy, a little cringy. This was 2018, 2019. Remember all those celebrities? Remember Paris Hilton? There was a thing. It was about I think it was Kim Kardashian as well. All these people, you can find it. They all had an article. They all had something where they went on TV. They were all talking, and they all said, and I remember one of them said something along the lines of, the quote was, "We've moved on to Bitcoin." They've been buying Bitcoin for a very long time. When Bitcoin goes to 100,000, it reaches that psychological level of like, I wish I had one. I need to acquire one so that I can also get wealthy as well. Why people don't buy earlier? I wish I could actually tell you. The way that the human mind works for the majority of people is they don't start buying until it's completely out of their realm, out of their range. They can no longer afford it. People will want even more fragments of Bitcoin past 100K because it shows them that they also own something that other wealthy people are buying, are owning. The issue is that Bitcoin is going to continue going up in price. At least this is my belief. We've been here for a while now. We've been here since Bitcoin was several $1,000s. These institutions know this as well, and this is why they're buying up so much Bitcoin. But this is unprecedented. To finish things off, what I found to be quite special as well is CoinLedger says that based off of their numbers and historical movements in price, once again, we've never had trillion-dollar companies who are getting injections of $500 million per day. For those of you who didn't know that, the ETFs are getting $500 million per day pushed into them. And those are just the US ETFs, nothing else. Understand that. It's estimated that there are around 50 million people out of 8 billion people who are into Bitcoin, who are also buying. Just those 9 companies alone, they're the only thing in the spotlight. No one else is paying attention to the other 50 million people who are going to continue buying forever. There are a lot of Bitcoin maximalists out there. There are a lot of people who are going to be getting into the market. There are a lot of you're probably dollar cost averaging and will be doing so maybe forever. You throw a couple $100 into the market. Well, guess what happens when you have 1 million other people doing the exact same thing? Now imagine you have 15 million people, 35 million people. We see that there are 10,000 plus new Bitcoin addresses, wallets being created per day. Per day before the halving. This isn't even discussing the ramping up and the discussion of BlackRock and Fidelity owning more than 1 million Bitcoin by the end of summer. CoinLedger says, if we go based off of these numbers and where they think I don't know if we're going to be able to pass by Bitcoin's all-time high of 69,000. They said if we pass by 69,000 at the time of the halving, we've done it. Spoiler. They said by 2025, Bitcoin goes to $360,000. You know why that number is interesting? Remember the last couple of videos that we had with that other company who was also going through their own metrics. They said that in 2025, their Bitcoin price on their screens, computers, was 337,000. There was another person a couple weeks ago who said his number shows 350,000. That's what I was talking about with patterns as well. All these people have different charts, different metrics, and they're all getting to the exact same conclusion. Not only a 6-figure Bitcoin, but somewhere over $300,000 per Bitcoin in 2025 if we manage to pass by the previous all-time high. The halving's going to be insane, for those of you who don't know. And the couple of months after, we are going to start getting this news again as we move into a brand new cycle, into a brand new halving. And we are going to see where Bitcoin's price is 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months after the halving. For those of you counting the calculator, that then just about gets us to January, February of 2025. And that's when the normal madness usually begins, with people buying as much as humanly possible. Very interesting times ahead. I love numbers. I love all these kinds of things. I love looking at the past patterns as well. And we have already surged far beyond where a lot of people were expecting that we were going to go. So the idea of where we're going to be in 3 to 6 months, I think people aren't ready. I literally like mentally think that people aren't prepared because a lot of people who are in the space right now, they're still counting the old numbers. They're still counting the idea of where so-and-so is going to be. They're not even paying attention to the fact that we haven't gotten to the halving and we've already passed by the previous all-time high. We have not gotten to the halving. We're not at the halving. The halving has not happened yet. We're not at the halving. We're still not there. Still got a while to go. Got a while to go before we get to the halving. Where are we 3 months later? Where are we 6 months later? When the Bitcoin issuance rate has literally collapsed. Anywho, I think that's going to do it for this video. I can feel my intensity rising. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. My goodness. This is going to be one of the craziest rides that we've ever had. I do sincerely hope that you've all enjoyed. The article is going to be in the description below for those of you who wish to read it. I hope you've all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be on this weird planet. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.